Oi, gente, tudo bem? Eu sou a Maria Augusta e hoje estamos aqui com Shawn James. Hi, Shawn. How are you doing today?
I'm so good. I'm thankful that you guys had me back on. It's good to be back at Antena 1.
Great. I am Maria Augusta, and it's really nice to have you here. Really nice to meet you. So to start off, right now, you're back in Brazil with the Muerte Mi Amor tour, just 1 year after you've been here and had 2 sold-out shows.
Mm-hmm.
Would you tell us a bit of how your experience was and what made you come back here? Has anything changed from the last time?
We put out a new record, so that's the only thing that's changed. But, I mean, you know, after playing those shows here last time, I think it was in April or May last year, it was by far some of the highest energy and emotion I've ever experienced from a show. You know, the Brazilian audience and crowds are unlike anything I've ever seen, like truly. And we play all over the world and they're great, but the energy here is like a whole nother level. So it was, you know, it blew my mind to receive that kind of a welcome, having it been my first time, and then having everybody know every word of every song. And then, you know, with you guys not having English as your first language and singing along to everything, it was just very heartwarming and very inspiring. So I knew after last time, I said, okay, we did Curitiba, Sao Paulo, and Rio. Let's do more cities this time. Let's expand and let's explore more and have more fun.
Ah, that's amazing to hear. Last November, you released the album Honor and Vengeance, and it features the track Muerte Mi Amor. So I was wondering, was there a particular reason for that song being the title of the tour?
Yeah, you know, I thought the album was done before Muerte Mi Amor was on the record, and I was excited and happy because I thought I was all done. And then I went back into the studio and I was listening, and then this guitar part came to me, and I played it over and over, and this song came to me, Muerte Mi Amor, and it was just some of the songs I write don't always make me emotional and feel, you know, certain ways, and this one did. I was just tearing up, and it made me very emotional, and I knew it was special, and I said, well, I have to find a place to put it on the record somehow. And then after we released it, we played it all around Europe and in the US, and the connection that the audience has with that song and that performance, because it's a ballad. It's very, I don't know, heartfelt and special, and I could tell that people connected to it. And so I thought, coming down to South America, we should maybe lean into that a little bit more. And yeah, it's affiliated with the new album, so I said, why not? Let's make it the Muerte Mi Amor tour. And I play it every night, so it's special.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine the album without it. It's so powerful, so beautiful.
Me too. You know, that was a thing. I thought it was done, and then when it got there, I was like, how did I not have this here before? I agree. Yeah.
Nice. And Honor and Vengeance is a concept album where you can trace a story going on with characters, a beginning, middle, and end. And when I heard it for the first time, it was almost like a movie to me. So could you tell us more about how is the creation of the album and how did you get inspired to do it?
Yeah, so I've always been inspired. Like, my father used to watch old Westerns growing up, like stuff with Clint Eastwood, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, for a few dollars more. And so I knew those kind of stories and tales, but what really got me with those movies was the soundtracks by Ennio Morricone. He's an incredible musician and composer, and so I always wanted to do something similar. And it was going to be a difficult challenge, though, or a different kind of challenge, because whereas he had the movie to basically write the music to accent what was happening, I had to completely come up with the characters, the story, the music, and everything. So I wrote the characters first. I knew it was going to be about this outlaw and losing someone in his life, and then he wasn't really an outlaw. It was because of what happened that he took vengeance in his own hands. Anyways, so I knew it was going to be these characters. And then I said, okay, now what's the story? Where does that come in? And then I wrote the story. And then the music came last, because I felt, how am I going to make the music reflect these things if I don't know what the story is and where it goes? So as it goes on, there's moments where it's, you know, more high energy when he's riding away and being chased by the bounty hunters. And then the music I love too, because in the beginning it's more Western, and then halfway through with Across the Border, where they're crossing into Mexico, it kind of takes a flamenco twist, and the music shows. So yeah, it's really inspired by a lot of those old Westerns and Ennio Morricone.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how do you manage to convert all of these different sounds into one album?
I don't know. Time. I mean, the one thing that was really nice. So previously, most of my records were made in studios that I would hire, and with engineers and with producers and all this stuff. But this time, I had just moved into this house that we have, and I made a home studio upstairs. It's not the best, but it's comfortable and it's good. So I said, for an album like this that's kind of more experimental and conceptual, I need time to relax and to try new things and to see what works. Because most of the time in a studio, you're paying a lot of money to be there and you're just rush. You have everything done and you just get it done and get out. But for this, we wrote it over months. So we had time to experiment and try new things. And I feel like, you know, the genres that are in it are just things that I've done in the past that I know I can do, that I wanted to lean into for certain emotions or styles. So, yeah.
Perfect. And when you look at the story and characters you created in Honor and Vengeance, is there a larger message you hope to convey to the listeners, or do you prefer each person to interpret in their own way, especially considering how music can transport fans to different places and times, even for those who may not have a connection to the Western genre?
Yeah. That's something that I realized after my first album came out 11 years ago, and I started touring, and I would talk to people after the shows, and they would tell me what the music means to them, and some of them would tell me their interpretations of the songs, which I had no idea how they came up with that. But then sometimes I liked it better than my interpretations of how I wrote it. So I think it is beautiful to let people have the ability to explore and come up with their own interpretations, because everybody goes through their different things in life. And, you know, certain songs that I love, maybe the artist didn't mean it like that, but because I was going through something then, it hit me in that way and made it about that. But what I like to do is, you know, same with Honor and Vengeance. When I write, I like to have, there's a main storyline that you could follow that's very easy to see. But then if you look a little bit deeper, you can maybe come up with different meanings and second stories underneath it. So I love doing that kind of stuff. And I hide stuff like that in there on purpose, because I want people to, if they want to dig deeper, they can. But if they want to leave it at the surface level, that's okay too.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the relationship between life and death is something that permeates the lyrics of Muerte mi amor. So how did these reflections change for you after finishing the song and seeing it integrated into the album? And is there one of these characters that are into the song you feel most directly represents what you were feeling when writing the lyrics? Because I see that they live different stories and have different point of views around death. So I was curious.
Yeah. When, after the record was done, and, you know, I'll be honest, I was kind of being a sad bastard, I call it. I was thinking a lot about death and about my own death before I wrote Muerte mi amor, and it was in my mind. But I was thinking more about why in the past I ignored that death was coming. And I would just put it to the back of my mind and live like death would never be there. You know what I mean? And just keep going and keep doing whatever. And I don't know why it made me sad when I thought about it, because I said, well, it's inevitable. It's coming for each and every one of us. So my thought was, well, maybe if I came to terms with everything it's going to mean for me, my family, my life, my existence, the creations I make and everything, maybe if I come to terms with it, I can appreciate what I have now even more and really make the most out of everything. And the real goal is that when death does come, maybe I don't have to be afraid if I think about it ahead of time and prepare for it, and I can greet death as a friend. And that's really where Muerte mi amor comes from. You know, it's related in terms of the characters. Yeah, they're all in this battle. It's a very old lifestyle of Western kill or be killed, you know, vengeance and honor and all this stuff. And I feel like there are lessons to be learned from that you can take in the modern day as well. So yeah, you can look at it from the old way of being, you know, from these old characters, or you can look at it how I was thinking about it when I wrote it. And that's why I think I got so emotional writing the song, because it related to me. And I looked at life from different perspectives of the old man, the woman, the boy, the girl, and how they're all similar, yet their choices kind of guided them to either having a better life and enjoying things and letting them go, or having the weight of the world on your shoulders, or whatever it may be. And I would say for me, the character that I would relate to is definitely the outlaw, just because he's the one who he wasn't purposefully, and there's different kinds of outlaws, right? There's outlaws that maybe do it because they like to be bad or like that lifestyle or get addicted to something, or that's what they like. But he was thrust into it because of trauma happening to him. And it was vengeance that brought him into that. And now he's forced to live that way because he was just doing what he saw as right. And I don't know, I relate to that a lot. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing your point of view.
Of course,
Really
that was a
beautiful.
good question. I haven't gone that deep into talking about it in a minute. Yeah, it's good.
Nice to hear it. And also something that got me curious, why did you finish the lyrics in Spanish?
I've always, so last time I was here in Brazil, and when I went to Spain a couple times, I, started listening to a lot more bossa nova and some other genres. And the things that I loved was the vocalists. I mean, the music is great too, but for someone who's sang in English their whole life, I know that in and out. It's very kind of simple for me. And when I hear people singing in Portuguese or Spanish or other languages like Italian or French, there's a beauty to the flow and the rhythm of it, and they approach it in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I wrote the lyrics in English, and then I very simply used Google Translate, and it obviously wasn't correct. So I called a few of my friends. I have a friend from Venezuela, I have a friend from Spain, and then I have a couple of friends from Los Angeles who are Hispanic. And I was like, okay, you guys are going to help me with this, because I know the interpretations are different from culture to culture too.
Yeah.
So it was tough. So one was like, oh, this is the right way. Another one was like, no, that's not the right way. This is the right way. And so I found this happy medium of everybody in the middle, and they were all like, we can get by with that. That's all right.
Perfect.
But yeah, it was wanting to try singing in a different way. And when I was singing, after I got the translation right, it was so inspiring. Like it was just, I can't explain it. There's a beauty to the flow and singing in a new way that was so inspiring than just saying what it would have been in English, and it made me want to learn more languages. So I've been taking Spanish recently, and I've been trying to learn more because I would love to sing more in other languages. I feel like it's just new and exciting and special.
Yeah. I felt a change in the end of the song because of that.
There's just something you can, I don't know, the emotions, the way you say it, the inflections are just beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Perfect. And talking about you a little bit now, I read in your bio that you don't like to limit yourself into one music genre, but prefer to mix things up, adding different musical styles into your shows, and creating a roller coaster of emotions. And today we see a movement in music history where artists are experimenting different things instead of narrowing their careers into just one music style.
Yeah.
Where do you think this tendency comes from, and do you think artists nowadays are more free than they were before to try new things?
I think so. I think they are more free. I think the tendency to be a country artist or a pop artist, or I'm a rock artist, or I'm a hip-hop artist, or whatever, classical opera, comes from a more old mentality around music. Of you have to choose one thing and be very good at one thing, and you can't confuse people, and they have to know what they're expecting, and it's like this old mentality. Older generations, I feel like, not that older generations didn't blend different genres, but I feel like now we're getting to a point, like you said, with newer artists, to where it's a lot has been done. Like a lot of the same stuff in those genres have been done. So the way to make things new is to fuse different genres together, to approach things from a different way. And I think it's exciting. I remember at the beginning of my career, people used to tell me that. They were like, I don't know if you're a folk artist or if you're a blues artist or if you made this rock song. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you confusing people? And you shouldn't do that. You want to make it, you better choose one thing and do that. And I was always just like, I don't care. I don't care if I get famous or if I blow up. I want to make music that I feel, that makes me express myself. And I think that as time goes on, you're going to see more and more artists becoming more comfortable and relaxing and not caring about what anyone else thinks. And I think that people want to hear that more too, because it's interesting.
Yeah,
know?
of course. Putting your heart and soul in everything you do and just trying new things.
Yeah.
Nice. And talking about your performances, when it's just you and the guitar on stage, it feels very raw and strong. And as a more organic artist, how do you view the kind of music that's being made today and these advances in artificial intelligence?
Yeah. It's another good question. I think, like with anything, there's good and evil and pros and cons to everything. I think, like you said, like some people prefer only when I have an acoustic guitar and I sing, because like you said, it's more intimate, it's raw. There's a different delivery that happens with it that I even perform differently than when I'm with my full band, and it's more high energy. And it's not that one is better than the other, it's just different styles, different tastes, you know? And I think that with the advance of AI and newer artists exploring new maybe advances in electronic music and other stuff, I think what's wrong with trying things? You know, there's a romanticism to staying in the past and to, you know, there will always be something romantic, even if, like in the space age, if you get hundreds of years down the line, there will always be something special. It'll become new to just have a guitar and do that maybe. But I think that remaining open and being open to things, the only thing I don't like about AI, I guess, is when you use AI to create something that you're trying to pass off as original. That bothers me. So if you're saying, this is my music, I put my heart and soul into it, it came from my mind and my emotions, but you really just used AI to write it, no, that's not good. But I mean, there are also advances in AI that I think that new artists can take advantage of. You know, like I know it's expensive to be a new artist and to record a record and to master the record and to use engineers. And as technology goes along, sometimes in the beginning you might be able to use AI to help you mix better or to help you master. And I know that's a point of contention because the jobs and everything else, but in the beginning when you're first starting out, it can be very helpful and inspiring to have something that's easy to do like that.
Yeah, perfect.
You know? Yeah.
Perfect. And you said once in an interview that you cannot cover any song, but only the ones that speak to you.
Yeah.
So you could retranslate and redesign them in order to pay respect to the original artist.
Amen, yeah.
And in my opinion, this is one of the most beautiful things about music, how it has a life of its own and can be sung in so many different ways and perspectives, relating to everyone in a particular way, just like you said before in an answer.
Yeah.
And your covers are so impressive and unique. And I wanted to ask you, what are the covers that have touched you the most recently and why?
Yeah, I've got to think about this now, you know. I think I've got some new ones I'm working on that I haven't released yet that are coming soon. And those have been, it takes me a while of sitting with a cover and living with it almost for like a few months before I even touch a microphone and record it, because I have to explore what I want to do with it. You know, like sometimes in the beginning I'll do a cover and it's just from the beginning very emotional, very loud, and then maybe if I give it a minute and I have a night where I'm more relaxed and I'm on the porch and it's raining, I might approach it from a softer perspective. So I give it time. But I would say the ones that I put out that recently we did a full band cover of Like a Stone by Audio Slave.
Nice.
And I had an acoustic version of it that I did during COVID. And that was one energy. But when we brought it to the full band, and it's more like Audio Slave's version, but in our way, it felt powerful, and playing that live has been incredible. I would say the other one that really sometimes gets to me is That's Life by Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Because
So beautiful.
I'll tell you a story about that one. It was about 8-9 years ago, and I was driving on tour. Back then I drove myself. We had an RV with like beds and stuff in it, and the band was asleep in the back, and I was driving on the highway, and we were going to this town called Joplin. And I was excited to get there because I had a good friend there. And this was at a time when the shows we played were like 10 people coming out.
Wow.
It's a long time ago, right? And this guy was amazing because he was from there. He would always put us up, host us. He would invite a bunch of people to come out and spread the word. And I was excited to get there because it was the next show. And then I'm driving on the highway. I get a phone call from another friend there, and they say, hey, I don't want to tell you this because you're on your way, but he died yesterday, or he died today, or whatever it was. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because he was 30 years old. He was young, you know. And I guess he had a headache at work, wasn't feeling well, went home, and then passed away when he took a nap. And I remember, like I said, I was driving, and I was on the phone. I got that call, so I hung up. And I'm driving, and I was like, I didn't know what to think. I was kind of in shock, you know. And so I never listened. I mean, I listened to the radio randomly, right? And for some reason, I don't know why at this moment, I just like cranked the radio, and it was because it was quiet, and I didn't want quiet at the moment. And this song was playing that I had heard like 100 times before, which I thought was good, but it never meant anything to me before that moment. And all of a sudden I heard it differently, and I appreciated it differently. And it was in that moment that I decided that I was going to start covering that song in honor of my friend. And that song was That's Life by Frank Sinatra. So that one, when I play it live, sometimes it will hit me unknowingly, you know, because I always dedicate it to people who lost someone a little too early. And sometimes when I'm playing it live, I'll just need to take a minute and come back down, you know. So yeah, that one, yeah, that.
Wow. The next time I hear you singing it, I'll be crying. But your version is really powerful. It's so beautiful.
I think that's kind of what inspired the way I sang it too. You know, I slowed it down and I made it, I don't know. It's somber, sad, but also hopeful, you know. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing it.
Of course, of course.
You said that through the process of navigating into different music, the one thing that maintains into your own sound is doing everything with your heart and putting your soul onto it. And as we talked before, Brazilians are known for being intense, warm, and emotional people. And into music, this is not different. You also said that you heard some bossa nova. So I wanted to ask you if any Brazilian music figures and if any artist from here is special to you. Have you heard anything that you liked?
I've been listening to a lot of playlists from a lot of older artists. I'd have to look it up because, to be honest, I haven't memorized a lot of it. But there's a song that I was listening called Berimbau. Berimbau. That's one that I've been listening to. And there's like this older, well, it sounds older, but there's the man, I think, who wrote it, or maybe it's an old song, I don't know. But there's this older version of the man sings it where it's more like upbeat, and there's another version where the lady sings it, and it's much more like chill and emotional, and that one's been getting to me. There's also a lot of bossa nova, like samba. There's this one artist, I want to say Cesaria, I can't remember her last name, but she sings this song called Petit Pays. And that one, the way she sings and her vocals are just, again, you don't hear that kind of singing, in my opinion, in English, because it's not that we couldn't do it, but the way that Portuguese sounds sung, I think, inspires these kind of sounds and emotions, you know. So yeah, I don't remember a lot of the names, but I have been exploring a lot more, and there's something for me about the older artists that I don't know. I guess I just haven't listened to a lot of the modern ones either. Maybe you have some suggestions afterwards.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Here in Antena, we listen a lot to older artists as well, so we can show you some things.
Beautiful.
And to finish off, what can we expect from your shows now in October? And if you want to send any messages to your Brazilian fans here from Antena as well.
Of course.
It's up to you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, the thing that I always say about the shows, I mean, I think you said it earlier in one of the questions, and the thing I always say is I think you can expect the same that it's been. Not the same show, because the show, every time we come back to a place, we revamp the show. We bring back maybe some older songs we haven't done in a while and make them a little new. We have some new records out, so we'll do some new stuff. And it will always be a roller coaster of emotions, because I like live shows to go many different places. I think a lot of times when I see a live show that's just the same level the whole time, I tend to get a little bored and a little, I don't know, I want it to be like life. I want it to have its ups and downs, drama, happiness, sadness, crying, you know, joy, everything. So that's what I always love about the way that we create shows. And I think that last year, experiencing the Brazilian crowds again, it was obviously they related to it and it translated with them. And one of my favorite things about these shows that I guess I'm looking forward to and to address the Brazilian crowds is I've played all around the world, you know, and we have great crowds other places, but I've never felt the energy that we give return to us in such a strong way that it creates this flow between everybody, and they're actively participating in the show. They're not just sitting and watching, and when you're done, great. It's like they're a part of it. You know, they don't just come to the show. You guys don't just come to the show to watch and to sit there. It is something that I've never experienced to this level here. So, yeah, I can't wait to see everybody again, and to have more great times and to play some new songs, some old stuff. And the sing-alongs are insane. Yeah, I'm just excited, honestly. And yeah, we love the Brazilian audience, and we cannot wait for these shows.
It's great to have you here. And as you can see, the love is all returned. So
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I never thought I would be able to do this, you know, and it's very special. And I don't think I'll ever forget that and ever let it go to my head, because, you know, I think I come from Chicago, and Chicago, the side that I grew up on, is very hardworking, very down to earth, and I feel that in a lot of the people that I meet in Brazil and other places around here. So I think that we relate, not just in the music, but also in lifestyle sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Citizen of the world.
That's right.
So that was my last question, Shawn.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much again.
Thank
you
you
It was
for
a
having
pleasure talking to you, and an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you at the show too, hopefully.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Então foi isso, gente. Muito obrigada por assistirem até aqui. Não se esqueçam de se inscrever e curtir o vídeo. Muito obrigada e até a próxima.
Obrigado.